Thank you all for joining me, and thank you all for coming on such short notice. But we want to get some very important information out to the public as a result of what happened this morning. As many of you have heard, at 8 a.m. this morning, the City of Rochester's Bureau of Water discovered a deceased body in the Highland Park Reservoir. Immediately upon discovery, the reservoir was shut off and bypassed as part of the city's water distribution system. Law enforcement was alerted, and water testing was conducted to confirm the water quality. Our testing has shown no issues. The team has conducted additional water quality tests since this morning, and again, we have not detected anything. However, as always, we work very closely, and you will hear from Star ONeal, Manager of Environmental Health Services with Monroe County Health Department, in a second. In talking to Monroe County, out of an abundance of caution, we have issued a boil water advisory. The Water Bureau immediately engaged the team. They're per their standard protocols, and later that morning, we talked to Monroe County about issuing that boil water notice. The boil water notice, I want to just pause for a second and give 13 an opportunity to get set up. The boil water notice applies to neighborhoods primarily on the west side of the Genesee River in the City of Rochester and Center City. Again, the water, and you can see the map here, the notice applies to neighborhoods primarily on the west side of the Genesee River and Genesee River in the City of Rochester and the Center City. If you go to our website, you can put in your address, and it will tell you if your address is affected. The website is cityofrochester.gov, cityofrochester.gov. Multiple water samples will be collected from the distribution system over the next 16 hours in accordance with state and county requirements to confirm water quality has not been impacted, and the reservoir will not be back in service until it has been drained and cleaned. Residents of the City of Rochester can call 311, obviously, for more information, 311 for more information. And we will continue to have these tests. The other item I want to turn the chief over to in a second is that the sad thing is that we lost an individual. Obviously, the chief will talk more to this, but we are only in the beginning stages of the investigation. Medical examiner has to identify who this individual is, and we will have to alert family before we issue more information in terms of the individual that lost their life at the reservoir. So this is a very, very sad situation, but it compounds in that, being that this happened near our water supply, it's important that we exercise this abundance of caution in terms of this boil water advisory. I want to have the chief come up and speak briefly about the investigation that is ongoing as it relates to this, to the person that lost their life. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. As the Mayor said, just after 8 a.m., RPD officers responded to the Highland Park Reservoir for the report of a body in the water. Officers learned that Water Bureau employees located a body while doing their morning checks of the reservoir and called 911. The Rochester Police Department scuba team responded to the scene and has recovered what appears to be an adult-aged male from the water. The remains have been turned over to the Monroe County Medical Examiner's Office to determine the identity of the individual as well as the circumstances of their death. Our investigators are currently working through video sources from the area, and we ask anyone who has information on this incident, please call 911. We should remember that the person recovered is a member of someone's family, and until an identification is made by the medical examiner's office, there will be many families wondering if this is their loved one. If you know a family who is missing a loved one, please offer your support and prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I want to invite, before I have Star come to the podium from the county, Just to talk briefly about the boil water advisory, I want to have Commissioner Perrin just to give some quick stats on the reservoir, which many of us are familiar with, but he can put a lot of this into context, and then I'll turn it over to Starr. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor. I would start out by just reminding everybody that one of the things that we have is a reliable water system in addition to being safe, and that reliability is created through redundancy. So we have 3 separate reservoirs, of which Highland is the smallest. Our reservoirs hold in a total about 150 million gallons of usable water. Of that, about 18 is at Highland. So we have more than enough. As the mayor noted, we immediately shut it down, created a bypass, and started serving those areas of the city that were served by the Highland Reservoir with another source. Just to give you an idea, we are at a point where we are allowed to produce a maximum annual daily average of 37 million gallons per day. The city uses about 26 million gallons per day. So if you do that basic math of slightly over 150, we have 6 days worth of water in those reservoirs that's consistently treated and tested to ensure that it's safe. So even if we had to shut everything down, we would have that. In addition, though, we also have the ability to purchase water from the Monroe County Water Authority. So what I'm here to do is just reassure everybody that with all of the tests that we take per day, each day we're testing at 12 separate sites. We have 3 different routes that we do. So in every day we're testing at taps. Those can be at a firehouse, they can be in a pool, but each day we are assuring on 7 different major parameters, including coliform and E. coli, that water is completely safe. So it's not just about being reliable, it's about having that safe potable water supply for drinking, bathing, cooking, but also domestic uses like fire protection. One of the things that we noticed was that in looking at our samples, we went back and have been looking back at this point in time, we're up to 6 to 8 weeks now. We have seen nothing that would indicate any issues across our water supply or specific to the Highland Reservoir. So we are now, and Ms. ONeal from the County Health Department will be able to speak to the additional testing that's going on. But again, we are testing every single day at both the source and our reservoirs to ensure that the potable water that is delivered to houses, businesses, schools is going to be safe. I also want to point out that neither Highland nor URMC Strong is served by the Highland Reservoir. So for those folks at the hospital or with loved ones there, no issues. They're served off of a separate reservoir continuously. So at this point in time, I'll turn it back over to the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to bring up Starr ONeal from the County Manager of Environmental Health at Monroe County to speak specifically about the boil water advisory. Starr.
Good afternoon. First, I'd like to start off that we do work very closely with the Rochester Water Bureau, and they have taken every step that they needed to take as they identified this incident. As has already been stated, they shut off the water immediately, have been doing testing. From a public health standpoint, there are some tests that take a little bit longer to run and the results take longer to get back. Those samples are the things that we're waiting for and the reason for this boil water notice. Those are coliform tests. They take about 16 to 24 hours to get results back. So we can't say, yes, it's absolutely clean. We think so with all the initial tests, but we have to make sure that the public is safe. Hence, the abundance of caution for this boil water notice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Starr. And I will take questions, obviously, if we, in terms of the investigation of the body that is still ongoing. But we really want to make sure that we get the word out about the boil water notice in this area. And we're thinking that this will be for what, the next 24 hours?
24 to 36 hours.
Yeah, so for the next 24 to 36 hours, this boil water advisory will probably be in effect. So I'll open it up for questions. Isabel.
For the actual draining of the reservoir itself, what does that process look like, and how will it be cleaned and insured?
Yeah, good question. Rich, you want to talk about the draining of the reservoir and the cleaning?
Absolutely. We had a planned draining of the reservoir that was going to occur in May. We're now stepping that up to now. Because we won't be able to use any of the water, we wouldn't draw it down and maybe use it as a supplement or in lieu of another reservoir. So that means that this will probably take approximately 8 weeks for the full draining. At that point in time, we'll do similar to what we did with Cobb's Hill, probably within the last 6 months or so, which will be a cleaning and full sanitization as we do it. So this really puts us on a bit of an accelerated schedule, but not much, and we've already gone and contacted our vendors that would be involved to ensure that they understand the urgency with which we need to do this.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
So people in the red area, when they turn their faucet on, where is that water coming from?
Rich, you want to answer that?
Yeah, we've bypassed the Highland Reservoir, so we have the 2 other reservoirs of Cobb's Hill and Rush. And again, when you look at those numbers, Cobb's is about 100 million gallons of usable water, and then we have the other amount, which is about 35 in Rush. Again, Highland is our smallest, so once we did the bypass, again, we have more than enough with about 6 days supply between all of the reservoirs, and if you take out the 18, we're still at more than 5 days if we were to produce and treat no more water.
So what is the water boiling, like what is the boil water going to do if we're not using water from that reservoir?
I'll let the Department of Health answer that because they can give you a much more definitive explanation than I could.
So it's for any water that's still in the system, right? So we got to clear out the system. So probably by the time the order gets lifted, probably the water is going to be fully flushed out of the system anyway. But that's a timing, you can't guess that out.
Yeah, so I think it's important to point out, this is out of an abundance of caution. We want to be 100% sure, right? And this is why we have this. We know it's an inconvenience, and people may say, oh, if it's okay, why? But we just have to do this out of an abundance of caution, and it's very important that we make sure that we are right. And you will see in the boil water notice, if you look at the map, it's Genesee River to Flint Street to Genesee Street to Arnett Boulevard to Westfield Street to Chili Avenue to Lee Road to Lexington Ave to the Genesee River to the Interloop to University Ave to South Ave and Goodman Street, and South Ave, Goodman Street to Linden to Mount Hope Ave to McLean, and McLean to the Genesee River. So that is what encapsulates in that map. So, but again, we want to do it out of an abundance of caution, and an abundance of cautions are important in this regard. Any other questions?
I understand abundance of caution, but why wasn't the notice this morning? Why was it found this morning? What was the reason for the delay between this morning and the water?
I think, no, as soon as we found out from the county health department that we wanted to have a boil water advisory, we got out as soon as we can. So it wasn't that much of a delay. The county health department decided to do this out of an abundance of caution. And as soon as we found out, we called this press conference, and that's how we decided to do that. Yeah. Yeah, so we wanted to make sure that we put this in real time. So we moved as quickly as we could in terms of announcing this boil water advisory. Yes.
And for the chief, I understand this is a very much so preliminary investigation. I guess this is a unique situation, if you will. I guess has anything like this happened recently? Like how long?
Not in my recent memory that I can remember involving the reservoir, no.
Yeah, I mean, this is extremely unique, but it's also tragic. And you know, obviously, it's somebody lost a family member, and obviously the investigation will look into how did this happen? How did this individual end up near the reservoir, right? And we look at that, but it's really a tragedy, and our hearts go out to the families, and obviously we'll have more information as it unfolds in terms of body identification.
And how long is that process expected to take for medical examiner's office? I understand there's like a backlog there.
I do not have.
Yeah, we don't know. We'd have to confer with the medical examiner's office, but obviously, as soon as we are made aware of the identification, and obviously family will be contacted first before we put out any announcement on body identification. Then after that, we will take steps to make sure that we do that. We do not know right now how long it will take the medical examiner to identify the body and then give us the opportunity to tell who this individual is.
Chief, how long do you guys think that the deceased was dead?
I don't think we know.
No, we really don't know. I mean, the DES folks do a walk around every day, but as far as how long, no idea at this point.
Yeah, I think it's too early to tell. And I think maybe the investigation with the medical examiner might determine that. Okay, yep. Oh,
In terms of the walk-arounds, is that something that happens for the water authority employees? Does that happen kind of on the bookend, in the mornings and at night?
I'm not sure. It's conducted in the mornings, yep. So, and again, we don't know how long this person was here or how they got there. I mean, we don't want to get gruesome, but we don't know how it flowed and saw. So, but I think the medical examiner will help us determine how long. It's something that we can't answer today, obviously. Any other last questions? All right, thank you. If you all could please push out on your social medias the areas around the boil water advisory. I have been in touch with the superintendent and alerted him that this might affect schools. So I would defer you to the superintendent. I'm going to continue to update him on how this will affect schools in that area as this continues to unfold. And please stay tuned for more information. And again, I can't thank you all enough for assembling so fast to run over to do this, but we wanted to make sure that we moved quickly on this. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody.